Here I go, I'm about to freak the flow. About the Cartoon Network and things they show. We got the super adventures, tune heads, and late night. It's black and white, but everything's alright. But I'll break it down a little bit more. Tell you what they have in store, what is tunes you're looking for. We got Fred Flintstone and Barney Rubble, my man.
Have you ever watched something that completely and utterly captured your attention? Checked every box, did everything you wanted it to do, and then some. When you experience a piece of media that you know from the moment you watch is a masterpiece, it's a really special feeling. Like, I get to be here for this? Like, was some kid watching like Hey Arnold or Batman in the 90s and thinking, the video essays on this are gonna be amazing in 20 years. What's a video essay?
I guess you guys aren't ready for that yet. But your kids are gonna love it.
For me, it only happens every so often, stuff like BoJack or Avatar, but from the moment I saw the trailer for Primal, I knew what I was watching was important. I knew I was gonna love it, it's Genndy. I had no choice in the matter, but like, I didn't know how much I would love it. I didn't know how much this one show could express everything I love about animation in such a short amount of time. Emotional storytelling, blood-pumping action, atmospheric world building, and all done without a single line of dialogue. This wasn't a show about fun cartoon dinosaurs and cavemen. This was a look into the violent life and death world of the prehistoric era, enhanced through the medium of animation. And who better to tell such a story than a man who has made his mark telling stories where the visuals speak for themselves. But there is one problem.
Hey! Where is everybody?
No one is watching it. View counts are down. It's losing to reruns. The best show airing on television is losing to old episodes of Seinfeld.
I am speechless. I am without speech.
Like, I doubt they'll cancel it. One, because it feels like it was made for a short release. For all I know, season 2 might be the last. And 2, because they can't screw Genndy again. They just got him back. But still, something this fresh, inventive, and fully formed needs more love. I want to see tons of fan art, discussions, and theories spread about it. This show deserves it, and today, I'm gonna show you why. I'm your host, and the thing that killed the dinosaurs, D'Angelo Edwards. And today, I am taking my hat off to Primal. So, Primal is the latest show created by Genndy Tartakovsky, the legendary mind behind shows like Dexter's Lab, Star Wars: The Clone Wars, and Samurai Jack. This dude has been in the business for a long time, and I've been into his stuff since the first day I laid eyes on it. There are some key things that separate a Genndy project from your run-of-the-mill cartoon. Dynamic, shape-based character designs that are brimming with life, tightly choreographed animation, be it a fight scene or a slow moment, and an overwhelming sense of atmosphere. All of these elements are present in all of Genndy's shows, but Primal is where I think Genndy has mastered his style of storytelling. How the characters move, the sounds of the various creatures, and the way that the colors and music help set the mood scene by scene, transitioning moments of tranquil silence into bloody spectacles of carnage and survival. If Primal does anything right, it's in its ability to completely immerse you. And like, I'm not even the biggest fan of cavemen and dinosaurs. I mean, they're alright I guess, but on like the scale of cool stuff boys like, I'd say it goes ninjas, pirates, ninja cowboys, space pirates, cowboy samurai, and then cavemen. Cavemen are cool, but I don't think about them that often. But Primal will make you care about them, because the way it portrays its world will change the way you think about them. And in order to explain how Primal does that so well, let's start with the story. From the moment the show starts, the way of this world is understood. We start with the Neanderthal we'll be following, a caveman named Spear, at least for our purposes. Remember, no dialogue. You're not gonna hear people calling each other by names much. Especially when most of those people are dinosaurs. But we start with Spear fishing. It's calm, chill, just casually catching some fish. When suddenly...
Damn, nature, you scary!
And there it is. That is the driving force of the whole show. The reason for the story. We've seen some pretty grand stories take place in the worlds Genndy creates. A boy genius tries to prove his brilliance to the world, a time-displaced samurai tries to make it back home, but in Primal, there is no bad guy. There is no ultimate evil plot. This is nature, where the only rule is eat or be eaten. And the first scene demonstrates that beautifully. We see Spear catching these fish, and we think nothing of it. Of course he's eating them, they're fish. That's what they're for. But we only think that because Spear is the protagonist, and because we're used to eating fish. We're people. But from the fish's perspective, he's a monster. Spear is a protagonist, not a hero. He's just doing what he has to do to survive. So when we see the giant crocodile, and calm down any paleontology nerds out there, I'm sure this thing has a name, but it's also dead, so, you know, attempt to eat Spear? Our minds go to, don't eat him, he's the good guy. But really, from the crocodile's perspective, Spear is the same as the fish he was just catching. Just another thing to eat so it can go on living. I think it's important that the show starts like this. It doesn't give the notion that Spear is this grand chosen one or special character in the world. He really is just one small part of the world we're looking at, just where our eyes happen to land. Just another member of the food chain. And spoiler alert, he is not at the top of it. After spending some time with Spear and experiencing what I assume is just an average day for him, I think you really start to feel for the dude. So when he notices some strange tracks on the grass and he panics, you really feel it. You only move that fast when you gotta poop or someone's in trouble. And the world back then was more toilet than dirt, so you know something is going down. But sadly, by the time Spear makes it back, he only has time to watch as his children and mate are devoured. New victims to the cruel food chain. And don't get me wrong, it looks super freaking metal, but like, that's gotta be a bummer for Spear, right? You okay, buddy? Okay, rude. Anyway, it's pretty much a complete slaughter. Spear fights back, but it's no use. His family is gone, and without them, he hardly sees any point in living anymore, deciding to take his own life, before a vision of his family encourages him to keep going. But while fishing again, he runs into another dinosaur, and wanting to take out a little caveman rage on it, he follows it back to its den, before realizing that the dinosaur is a mother. Now Spear is in the same situation that the dinosaurs that attacked his family was in. Again, just like the fishing scene, we get to see just how easy it is for a character to shift from hero to villain, depending on the perspective. But this is even worse for Spear, because if he attacks this dinosaur and her kids, he wouldn't even be doing it for food like the dinosaurs that killed his family. He would just be acting out of hate. But before he gets the chance to do anything, they're all attacked by the same dinosaur. And he fights it off with the help of the mother, getting his revenge and deciding to let go of his hate. But sadly, the two of them unite to fight the last dinosaur, and they win. But, both of them are now completely alone. But they decide that if they can take on one threat, they might as well stick together. And so a new team is formed, not out of choice, but by necessity. And the rest of the story pretty much just follows Spear, along with the dinosaur that we now know as Fang, surviving together. There is no greater goal outside of finding food and finding shelter. And while a show with no clear goal might sound like it could get old real fast, you don't know Primal.
Cartoon Network.
All right, boys.
Cartoon Network.
1, a 2.
Here I go.
While the goal of finding food and staying alive never changes in Primal, the way the show handles the characters and changes the settings helps to keep it all fresh. Now, I'm not going to try and delve into the complexities of Spear and Fang, because let's face it, it's a caveman and a dinosaur. There is not much nuance in their thinking. But that doesn't mean that they're weak characters. It just means that they're straightforward characters. But what the show does with them is really cool, because depending on the episode, their dynamic completely changes. Sometimes they're partners in hunting, forming an unstoppable unit, tearing through their prey like they're nothing. Sometimes they're like brother and sister, constantly fighting and bickering over stuff like food and who gets to do what first. And other times they seem like a guy and his dog, having fun together, enjoying each other's company. They handle this really well with Fang, by the way. They don't really change her face to get her to express emotions. This is an animal, their faces don't work like ours. But who am I to judge? My mouth doesn't move when I talk. But because they want to keep that realism with Fang, they have to portray her mood in other ways. The different sounds she makes, head tilts, camera angles, they give her a ton of personality without turning her into a total cartoon character. But I think my favorite way the show portrays them is when they highlight just how selfish Fang can be sometimes, much to the annoyance of Spear. Like, Fang can really suck, and you can feel how fed up Spear gets with her. But it comes across as something like two siblings fighting all the time, or maybe like a Marley and me situation.
Aw, my nightmare dog is dead. Marley and me.
You know they still care about each other despite how much they make each other mad, and when they team up, they can go against anything, which is good because they're kind of up against everything. The threats in this world are vast, not just other creatures that see them both as food, but much more is against them. The weather can be a constant threat, with Fang and Spear having to adapt. Sometimes they come across entire hordes of animals which they can't even fight in their normal way, which can lead to some pretty cool inventive weapons made by Spear. He actually does this a lot in the show, not just for fighting, and it's really cool to see. It's like watching evolution in real time. And it's not just the threats that are varied, it's the way that they're presented. In one episode, they might be up against an unseen foe, setting it up as something of a slasher villain, quickly and quietly stalking them in the night. Other times, a dinosaur suffering from disease and rot can bring up images of a zombie apocalypse. Heck, sometimes they just say screw nature and throw magic into the mix. Because you weren't there, you don't know it didn't happen. All of this and more is presented episode after episode, keeping it feeling fresh and giving all these cool new concepts and genres to enjoy. And all of this is made possible because of the amazing animation, art direction, and sound design. Everything is so gritty and pulpy. Genndy mentioned that they took a lot of influences from the work of Frank Frazetta, a name you have heard countless times if you went to an art school. He was mostly known for his sprawling dark fantasy paintings and illustrations done for stuff like the Conan series. He also liked to draw half-naked cave babes fighting tigers, so yeah, real high-class stuff here. And if you've seen any of his work, you know that Primal has got it nailed. The detailed anatomy on not just Spear and Fang, but on every creature we encounter is amazing. Even simplified for animation, you can tell they knew what they were doing anatomy-wise. Of course, you have your usual culprits like Scott Willis and Steven DeStefano, both bringing their A-game on background art and character designs respectively. But that's not all. You also have Erica Worthylake. whose creature designs feel so fresh and dynamic. They all feel so solid and well thought out, with each one having its own different feeling, weight, and composure. Also, there's Christian Schwald, who brings the world to life with his background paintings. The world that Primal takes place in might as well be its own character with how lovingly it's crafted. All this extinct foliage, crude housing for animals that have long since left this world, it really is a window into the past, and the sound design helps to clinch it. The music is phenomenal. Blood-pumping tracks that highlight the life or death battles taking place between these long-dead titans. It really makes it feel larger than life, and the slower, more serene tracks make you feel like you're in a fantasy world. The music is provided by Tyler Bates and Joanne Higginbottom, who also worked on the music in Symbionic Titan. I swear man, once you are in the Genndy clique, you are in for life. That'll be me one day, me and Genndy working side by side until I eventually surpass and betray him. The dream. And it's not just the music. The sound effects are crazy too. They said that when it came to the sound of this world, they really wanted to capture the raw feeling of nature. And man, do they. Some top tier Foley work provided by the legendary Joe Valentine, a guy who's been working with Genndy since Two Stupid Dogs. All of these different animal roars and whines were cobbled together from stuff like chickens and instruments, and tweaked to perfection. Just listen to this and tell me it doesn't sound like an absolute predator.
My mind's telling me no.
Not to mention the awesome caveman grunts provided by Aaron LaPlante for Spear. Imagine getting paid to just grunt and groan all day. That's like Tim Allen's dream job. And all of this is lovingly animated by Studio La Cachette, a French animation studio handpicked by Genndy. I'm not that familiar with them, but after looking at some of their original projects, all I can say is, yes, more please. I would enjoy more of that. They give the animation such pop, such a sense of life that goes just beyond picture move good. There is something that Primal gets right in its animation that is integral to the feelings this show elicits. And we are going to dive right into that, right after this break. There is one thing that makes Primal different than most other action shows, and that thing is in how its animation is presented. Like, yeah, it's great and all, and I love all the action, but it's the way that the action comes across that makes it special. Somehow, Genndy and his team were able to capture the raw violence of nature in this show, and it is awesome to see come through. There are no martial arts, no moves are planned, no special techniques or anything like that. This is just animal against animal. Pure chaos. The choreography of these scenes are so loose. It's like watching improv except you actually want to be there. It would have been really easy to just like anime it up, make it big and flashy, but nope, not one wasted movement here. Because out in nature, one wrong move means you're dead. Doesn't mean that it's not thrilling, cause come on dude, you're looking at the same show as me. It's just that the way it portrays the violence is presented in an almost grounded way. I say almost because the show still has like witches and magic steroids and stuff. My point still stands. You go and watch like a nature doc or something, and you'll see that fights between animals are quick. Cause they don't mess around. They want to eat you, not trade banter. And Primal captures the fast, desperate sense of kill or be killed perfectly. Especially in the way that Spear and Fang get absolutely messed up in this show. They are constantly getting scratched, bit, thrown around, stepped on, and while that may sound like a field day for people of my,
Oh, thank you! Thank you!
proclivities, for them I think it's less than ideal. But at least together they stand more of a chance. It's really cool seeing how they work off each other in a fight. Fang usually overwhelms the smaller enemies, swiping at them with her tail, biting stuff in half, and while she's running rampant, Spear is taking out stuff from a distance, using his smaller size to get around the bigger enemies. To be honest, even though Fang is the dinosaur, sometimes Spear seems like the most dangerous one, because when he wants something dead, he really wants it dead. And Primal makes sure to show you that in bloody splendor. And with all the different types of foes to fight, you get to see plenty of variety in your skull cracking. But it's not just the fights that are harrowing. The situation that this team finds themselves in can be just as tense. Braving the elements in search of food, getting captured by groups of spellcasters, sometimes they even get separated and have to fight back to each other. Every episode gives you more of what you want, but in cool and exciting new ways. One of my favorites is A Cold Death, an episode where after being trapped in a snowstorm, Fang and Spear kill a mammoth for food and supplies, and to us it just seems like a lucky break for them. But from the side of the mammoths, a precious member of their herd has just been slain, and they are not happy about it, hunting down Spear and Fang. It seems like it's it for them, but in actuality, the mammoths aren't really looking for a fight. They just want the tusk of the mammoth that was killed so they can give it a proper burial. It's a small, quiet moment that just radiates sadness, but it's also kind of nice. Seeing all of these different types of animals, it's hard to see what they might all have in common, but it's the thing that we all have in common. The fact that someday we'll all have to say goodbye to someone. Spear already has, and Fang has as well. And now, the mammoths have too. But even through all of them having their own ways of living, in death, they can find an equal ground. But enough about that. In the next episode, they fight like giant vampire bats and spiders while a blood moon is in the sky. It's so freaking cool. I love violence so much. Empathy is for the weak. But seriously, Primal is violent, yes. But it's much more than that. It's about finding a way to coexist with the things around you, whether that be nature, animals, or even people. Which, interestingly enough, looks like Primal might explore more deeply than I thought. Now I'm going to be getting into slight spoilers here, but let's talk a bit about the last episode of Season 1. Not that it really matters, I could be reading the Wikipedia article for this show and you'd still love it. In this episode, Spear and Fang encounter another human. Now, this isn't that crazy. Spear did have a family before, and we see other humanoids in the show with the witches and some other cave people. But this one is different. She speaks.
كنا عايشين بعيد عن العالم.
Granted, it's not in English, I think it's Arabic maybe, not sure. But this is the first time in the show that we see someone talking. And not just speech, but it seems like she's way more advanced than Spear and the other Neanderthals, crafting more advanced weapons and actually cooking and seasoning her food. So we can strike one race off the list of possible ancestors. But this opens the possibilities up in Primal a lot. This means there are others like her. And that means that this world has now opened up from just this small little piece we've been exploring. And dude, Season 2 has been exploring it wholeheartedly. Now the season isn't over yet, it's about halfway done, so I'll be brief. But the themes that it's tackling are so good. It looks like we'll be looking at stuff like early religion, slavery, stuff like Vikings, and from the trailers, actual gods maybe. I for one cannot be more excited. These first few episodes have been nothing short of fantastic. But we all know that nothing is without flaws, so let's get into the things about Primal that I didn't like. Primal is a masterpiece, and if Samurai Jack didn't already have my heart in a chokehold, it might be my favorite show of all time. No other show does the things it does so well. I've never seen animation and storytelling that so perfectly captures the feeling of survival like Primal. The fear of knowing that so many things could kill you? The adrenaline of fighting for your next meal, knowing that what you hunt could easily make a meal out of you as well? And the raw emotion of dealing with loss, sickness, and death. This show takes it all and polishes it to a diamond sheen. A gold standard of television that if you're not watching, well, frankly, you must just hate me. Because I need you to watch it. Now, every episode is on HBO Max or whatever it's going to be called. It's a little touch and go right now, but Primal will still be there. And the new episodes go up the day after, so you have no excuse. Go watch it and see the reason that Genndy and his team have the reputation they have. Because they captured something special here. Something brutal. Something raw. Something primal.